Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's really nice. It's really nice to be here. And yeah, still a little bit nervous, even though I had 2 presentations before. So please be patient. And I would love to. We have just had breaks, and I hope you enjoy the snacks that I brought from Central Kalimantan. So I bring the moringa leaf tea and also palm oil tree shoots snacks and young rattan. So if you want to try this, probably most of you haven't even seen palm oil trees, but in Central Kalimantan you can see it everywhere. Like they're like, I don't know, we don't even need that many palm oil, but they are everywhere in Central Kalimantan. Greens, but not sustainable for the environment. So I'm going to present. I'm here because of the environmental issues that's emerging like around the world, and even I experienced it firsthand in Central Kalimantan, and the climate change has making the condition even much worse. So I see this as an opportunity, because I can meet with fellows with diverse topics and problems, but we gather here for the networking. So I'm really glad for this opportunity and be able to meet the faculties and to have discussion sessions, and I got so many insights. Even these past days, I have so many plans already to be done, to be implemented after I got back from Seoul. So it is about right to breathe. Even though before I focused more about forest fire and haze, but I see that it will be more accessible to more people in different places than Central Kalimantan to refer to this problem. So it is about right to breathe. So what is it about? What I'm doing here is actually to be able to create youth voice to advocate changes on environmental issues, because there's these environmental issues, and we want to make changes on environmental issues, but why is it still the issues is still there? What's wrong? What's happening? So I want to see more about that, and I want to look more into specific issue, because there are many environmental issues in Indonesia, and the specific issues is the annual haze disaster that is caused by land and forest fires as a result of environmental destruction from poor managed exploitative large-scale natural resources, bad investment, and lack of environmental governance. It's really long, but I try to make it like short to cover up all of these big issues, because this forest fire and haze issues is a really complex issue. There are many factors that contributed to this disaster. But while I'm trying to do the problem mapping, Chloe has taught me in the previous session, I found that the only problem, like the root problem, is because the lack of commitment from the government to sustainable environment. Because in Indonesia, as you know, the current president right now, he intends to build the economic growth. So his plan is for economic growth, but not talking about environment sustainability, which is really, really sad. Because we have been experiencing this disaster for more than 20 years, and every single day, everyone in 7 provinces, especially in Indonesia, we have to experience haze. We have to bear with the poor air quality, even if it's getting really bad. Like we still have to go out because we need to work, we need to go to school, because the government usually will only shut schools down or office when things get really, really bad. So in 2015, we experienced the second worst disaster, other than 1997. So in 2016, the citizens in Central Kalimantan especially sued the government because we think that the disaster happened because of their negligence, because they could actually do something to prevent this disaster, because it is man-made. Even though the climate change is there, the climate crisis is there, but actually all of this ecological disaster is caused by human activities. So from 2016, finally we won in 2019. We won the lawsuit because the Supreme Court finally issued the final verdict on land and forest fire issues. And they actually should implement the result, but up until now, the implementation hasn't been done because they are going to appeal for judicial review. Even though the Supreme Court, this is the first decision of the District Court regarding the issue. So the defendants had not optimally implemented the efforts to prevent and overcome forest and land fires causing haze, especially in Central Kalimantan as mandated by the law. Because in Indonesia, we have a constitution and law that protects the environment, and also provide clean and healthy environment for the people, ensure that there's protection for the environment and the people. Even in the UN, we also have that kind of insurance actually, but it's not happening. So this is the problem, because Indonesian government is going to appeal for another judicial review. So the government officials that we sue is not only the president, but also the Ministry of Environment, and also the government of Central Kalimantan, and other ministries such as Health Ministry, and also Forestry Ministry. And the final verdict decision has yet to be implemented, even though this issue has been occurring for so many years. But it seems that the government hasn't had any strong willingness to actually tackle this issue, because if we see the root of the problem, like the exploitative industry, natural resource-based industry that cover 80% of area in Central Kalimantan especially, we see that they must have some changes on that, like review the licenses, because many licenses are corrupted. And what we can do, I'm thinking, because I work as a campaigner, so it become my concern, because even in Central Kalimantan, who the victims of haze are living, not all of them talking about this issue, even in other regions. So I think it is really important to carry out youth-targeted campaign to build public support and create pressure to the government. Because even though the decision of the Supreme Court is there, but the government doesn't want to do a thing. And why I target the youth is because 50.5% of the world population are people under the age of 30. And Indonesia has more than 60% of the population are the productive age people. And also in Indonesia, the social media user are mostly under the age of 40, and we are one of the biggest how can I say, online internet consumers in the world. And so what's the question? What was the question that I brought here in Seoul to the environmental and human rights organizations? There are three main questions: advocacy and campaign, and public support and youth involvement. So I want to dig more about this. And so during the activist research, I visited four big environmental and human rights organizations. There are Green Korea United, Korean Women Environmental Network, Advocates for Public Interest Law, and Korean Federation of Environmental Movement. So they shared their advocacy and campaign activities, and also their successful stories, their challenges, and how do they engage the young people, and how do they raise the public support. So most of them, they have their own successful story. However, they are still struggling to raise the public support, even though most of the environmental organizations and human rights organizations in Seoul, they are financially independent, so they are supported by public funding. It means that they, even though the number is not that big, but they have raised awareness from the people in Seoul or in South Korea, and they are, we can say that they are successful, even though they still have so many challenges. So I found that most organizations take about 5 to 10 years in advocacy, in change the regulations and create change. So every organization has already been financially independent, as I said before, and supported by public fundraising with more than 500 members. And various activities have been carrying out, such as lecturing, education tour, training, internship. Even though it's these successful stories that they have, or still have many challenges. They say that they're still struggling to engage the youth, because you know, the youth has different concerns. Yeah, it's also because of the current urbanism, and also about the funds, the fundraising. Mostly they are their close friends and families, so they have some homeworks to do regarding the public support. But it is still far better than the condition in my country, because in my organization we are still yet to be financially independent, so we still rely on donor, project donor, etc., which is really affecting our works. So I learned a lot. And also regarding the advocacy, I found that even though we have actually made successful advocacy, such as change in regulation, we still have challenges after that. Such because, for example, like the Green Korea United, they successfully advocate the regulation regarding Baekdu Mountain, but after that they still struggling with the implementation of that regulation. And also the Korean Women Environmental Network, they successfully advocate about regulation regarding the period pads, but they are not, right now they are being sued by the period pads company. So I think that the lessons I learned, it is important yet challenging to raise public awareness and support, especially young people, because they are easily accessible, because now we have technology, advanced technology, but why is it still hard to reach this group? So also, for a change at law is not the final goal of people's struggles to seek remedy for their rights. After the issuance of the said regulation, people have to fight for its implementation and other challenges. So this is really important, because right now we are advocating about changes. So I think this is so insightful. So my message is, as long as we still live in this planet, environmental issues will always be relevant to us, because we live in this planet, so it has to be relevant. So this kind of message is the message that I want to spread. Even though we have different contexts and different environmental issues, but it's still environmental issues, so it means that it's still relevant to us, even though we live in different places, in different countries, but we might be impact one each other. So this is what I got from the previous days, that educate ourselves, talk more about the issues that concerning, and also act now in our most authentic way. So it's really beautiful. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much. This is the context. Thank you.